Think like a leader, not a worker. Most people make decisions based on what feels good right now. They choose comfort over growth, convenience over discipline, and immediate rewards over long-term results. But if you want an extraordinary life, you have to develop the ability to think beyond today. A leader doesn't only ask, "What do I want right now?" A leader asks, "What am I building?" That question forces you to see beyond the moment. Today may be difficult. Today you may not see results. Today your effort may feel invisible. But that doesn't mean your work is meaningless. Every disciplined action is shaping your future. Think about the person you want to become 5 years from now. Then ask yourself, are the decisions I'm making today moving me toward that person or away from them? Your future is not created someday in the distance. It is being created right now. Every hour you spend learning is shaping your future ability. Every time you practice instead of making excuses, you're building discipline. Every difficult responsibility you accept is developing strength. Every distraction you refuse is protecting your focus. And every day you choose progress over comfort, you're becoming someone more capable than you were yesterday. The problem is that progress often doesn't give you immediate evidence. You study for weeks before you feel knowledgeable. You practice for months before your skill becomes impressive. You work consistently before anyone notices. You make responsible choices today for a future you cannot yet see. That's why leadership requires vision. You have to believe that your future deserves sacrifices from your present. You have to be willing to say no to something temporary because you're committed to something permanent. Comfort says, relax today. A vision says, prepare today. Distraction says, you can do it later. Discipline says, do it now. A fear says, what if you fail? Vision says, what if you succeed? The people who build remarkable lives understand that every decision has a consequence. Not necessarily tomorrow. Not necessarily next week. But eventually. Your habits are votes for the person you're becoming. If you repeatedly choose procrastination, you're becoming comfortable with delay. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you're becoming someone who can depend on themselves. If you repeatedly choose learning, you're expanding your possibilities. If you repeatedly choose excuses, you're shrinking them. This is why you must stop measuring your life only by today's results. A seed doesn't look like a tree. A first step doesn't look like a journey. A single workout doesn't create strength. A single book doesn't create wisdom. A single disciplined day doesn't transform your life. But repeated actions compound. Small improvements become skills. Skills become confidence. Confidence creates opportunities. Opportunities create results. And results eventually create a life that looks completely different from where you started. So don't underestimate what you do today. But don't become obsessed with immediate rewards either. Some of the most valuable things you can build require patience. Your reputation takes time. Your knowledge takes time. Your character takes time. Your career takes time. Your confidence takes time. Your greatest achievements may require years of preparation before they become visible to anyone else. That's why you must learn to work without applause. You must learn to keep going when nobody is watching. You must learn to trust the process when the results are still developing. Don't sacrifice your future simply to make today easier. Think about the consequences of your choices. Before you waste an hour, ask yourself what that hour could have become. Before you quit learning, ask yourself what knowledge could have changed your future. Before you accept an excuse, ask yourself whether that excuse will still matter 5 years from now. Think bigger than the moment. Your current circumstances are not the final definition of your life. Maybe you're starting with limited resources. Maybe you're inexperienced. Maybe you have made mistakes. That's okay. Your responsibility is not to have everything figured out today. Your responsibility is to make decisions today that give tomorrow a better chance. Build something, learn something, improve something, strengthen something, prepare yourself. Because when opportunity finally arrives, you don't want to be wishing you had started. You want to be ready. The world often rewards the person who prepared before the opportunity appeared. So stop living only for immediate comfort. Stop measuring everything by instant results. Lift your eyes beyond today. Ask yourself what your actions are creating. Ask yourself who you're becoming. Ask yourself what kind of future you're building with the choices you're making right now. Then act accordingly. Think beyond today. Work for the future. Build with patience. Stay disciplined when the results are invisible. Because one day, the future you are working toward today will become your present. And when that day arrives, you will either be grateful for the decisions you made or wish you had started sooner. Don't just live for today. Build a tomorrow worth arriving at Dockbit. Stop waiting for instructions. Stop waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. And stop waiting for somebody else to recognize your potential before you decide to use it. There is a powerful difference between people who simply perform tasks and people who create results. One waits for direction. The other develops direction. One asks, "What do you want me to do?" The other asks, "What needs to be done?" That question can change your entire life. When you walk into a situation, don't immediately look for instructions. Look for problems. Look for opportunities. Look for something that can be improved. If something is broken, don't just complain about it. Think about how it can be fixed. If a process is inefficient, don't simply accept it. Study it. If you see someone struggling, don't always wait for someone else to step forward. Become the person who helps. This is how leadership begins. Not with a title, not with a position, and not with applause. Leadership begins when you accept responsibility. A weak mindset constantly asks, "Whose fault is this?" A strong mindset asks, "What can I do about it?" That's the difference. You cannot control everything that happens around you. You cannot control every person's decisions. You cannot control every obstacle that appears in your path, but you can control your response. You can choose to become proactive instead of reactive. You can choose to learn instead of complain. You can choose to act instead of wait. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen yourself. Don't become addicted to being told what to do. Develop the ability to think for yourself. If you finish your assignment early, don't immediately search for another instruction. Ask yourself what else could create value. If you have a skill, sharpen it. If you have knowledge, expand it. If you see an opportunity to improve something, take initiative. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You don't need to dominate conversations. Real leadership is often quiet. It's the person who notices what others ignore. It's the person who prepares before being asked. It's the person who takes responsibility when things become difficult. It's the person who can be trusted when nobody is watching. And understand this, Shing. Taking initiative does not mean acting recklessly or ignoring guidance. It means developing the judgment to recognize where you can contribute and having the courage to step forward. Your future will not be built by waiting. Waiting feels safe, but waiting can become a habit. You wait for confidence. You wait for motivation. You wait for someone to give you an opportunity. You wait for the right moment. And while you're waiting, someone else is learning, practicing, improving, and moving forward. The perfect moment rarely arrives. You create momentum by taking the next responsible step. So today, change the questions you ask yourself. Don't ask, What am I supposed to do? Ask, what can I unask? Who will help me? Unask, what can I learn? Don't ask, why did this happen to me? Ask, what can I do next? Those questions create a different kind of person. A person who takes ownership, a person who develops solutions, a person who becomes dependable, a person who doesn't need constant supervision to make progress. And eventually, that person becomes difficult to ignore, not because they demanded attention, but because their actions created results. So stop waiting for instructions. Take responsibility for your growth. Take responsibility for your decisions. Take responsibility for your future. You don't need someone to hand you a leadership position before you start thinking like a leader. Start where you are. Take initiative. Solve the problem in front of you. And keep moving forward. Because leadership doesn't begin when someone gives you authority. Leadership begins the moment you decide to take responsibility. Stop looking at problems as interruptions in your life. Start seeing them as opportunities to become stronger, smarter, and more valuable. Anyone can complain when something goes wrong. Anyone can point fingers. Anyone can explain why something is impossible. But leaders think differently. When a problem appears, they ask one question. What can I do about it? That question separates people who wait from people who lead. Your value grows when your ability to solve problems grows. The bigger the problems you can handle, the more responsibility you can carry. And the more responsibility you can carry, the more opportunities you create for yourself. Don't run from difficult situations. Learn from them. When something doesn't work, study why. When you make a mistake, don't waste the experience. Extract the lesson. When a plan fails, don't declare yourself a failure. Change the strategy. There is always something you can learn from an obstacle. The person who develops a problem-solving mindset becomes difficult to stop because they no longer need perfect conditions to move forward. They understand that obstacles are part of the process. Think about how many people waste their energy saying, "This shouldn't be happening." Maybe it shouldn't, but it is. So what are you going to do now? Complaining doesn't solve the problem. Blaming doesn't solve the problem. Waiting for somebody else doesn't always solve the problem. Action does. Start training your mind to search for solutions. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," ask, "What would I need to learn?" Instead of saying, "There is no opportunity," ask, "Where could I create value?" Instead of saying, "Nobody will help me," ask, "What can I accomplish with what I already have?" These questions force your mind to move from helplessness to possibility. And remember, being a problem solver doesn't mean you must solve everything alone. Smart leaders know when to ask questions, seek advice, collaborate, and learn from people with more experience. The goal isn't to prove that you know everything. The goal is to keep moving toward the solution. Become the person people can trust when things get difficult. When everyone is confused, bring clarity. When everyone is complaining, start thinking. When everyone is waiting, take the next responsible step. You don't become valuable by avoiding problems. You become valuable by becoming capable of handling them. Every challenge you face is training. Every mistake can teach you. Every setback can strengthen your judgment. Every difficult situation can develop your character. So don't pray for a life without problems. Build yourself into someone who can face problems without losing direction. Become calm under pressure. Become curious when something fails. Become persistent when the first attempt doesn't work. Become disciplined enough to keep searching. Your future will not be determined by whether problems appear. Problems will appear. Your future will be influenced by who you become when they appear. So stop asking for an easier path. Build a stronger mind. Stop waiting for perfect circumstances. Learn to create progress with what you have. Stop seeing every obstacle as a reason to quit. Start seeing it as another chance to grow. Become the person who doesn't just identify problems, but becomes known for solving them. That is how you become valuable. That is how you become dependable. And that is how you begin thinking like a true leader. Lead yourself first. Before you can lead anyone else, you must learn to lead yourself. You cannot control a team if you cannot control your own habits. You cannot inspire discipline in others if you constantly surrender to distraction. You cannot demand excellence from the world while accepting excuses from yourself. Leadership begins in the moments nobody sees. It begins when you have a goal but don't feel motivated, and you work anyway. It begins when nobody is checking on you, nobody is praising you, and you still do what you promised yourself you would do. That is self-leadership. Most people want external success without internal discipline. They want bigger opportunities, greater influence, and more respect, but they don't want to develop the character required to handle them. Don't make that mistake. Before asking for more responsibility, become responsible with what you already have. Before asking for more time, learn to use the time you already have. Before asking for greater opportunities, become prepared for them. Your habits are shaping your identity every single day. If you constantly delay important work, you're training yourself to procrastinate. If you repeatedly keep commitments to yourself, you're building self-trust. If you allow every distraction to control your attention, your goals will always compete with your impulses. But when you learn to control your attention, your decisions, and your actions, you become powerful in the best sense of the word. You become capable of directing your own life. And understand this, self-discipline isn't about being perfect. You will have bad days. You will make mistakes. You will lose focus sometimes. The difference is that a self-led person doesn't turn one mistake into an excuse to quit. They reset. They learn. They continue. That's what makes discipline powerful. It isn't about never falling off track. It's about refusing to stay off track. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop waiting until motivation appears. Motivation can start the journey, but discipline keeps you moving when motivation disappears. There will be mornings when you don't feel like working. There will be moments when quitting feels easier. There will be days when nobody notices your effort. Do the right thing anyway, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build confidence. Every time you choose responsibility over excuses, you build character. Every time you finish something difficult, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. And that confidence is earned, not imagined. Lead your thoughts. Lead your emotions. Lead your actions. Don't allow your circumstances to dictate your character. Don't allow temporary frustration to make permanent decisions for you. Don't allow other people's opinions to determine your direction. Take ownership. Your life changes when you stop waiting for someone else to take responsibility for it. You don't need a leadership title. You don't need a perfect environment. You don't need everyone to believe in you. Start with yourself. Get your own life moving in the direction you know it should go. Build discipline when nobody is watching. Build knowledge when nobody is applauding. Build character when nobody is rewarding you. Because one day, the person you become internally will determine what you can handle externally. As lead yourself first, then lead through your example. Don't just tell people what excellence looks like. Become the example. Don't just talk about discipline. Live it. Don't just talk about responsibility. Carry it. Don't just demand growth. Pursue it every day. The strongest leader is not the person who controls everyone else. It is the person who has learned to control their own direction. Master yourself. Build yourself, lead yourself, and let your life become the proof of your leadership,